What if I told you that your experience with dating has more to do with your understanding of polarity than it does with who you are as a person and how she sees you as a potential partner? Today, I want to dive into 3 scenarios where this shows up most commonly for my clients because hopefully you'll resonate with one of them and you can start to see a roadmap of how you want to move forward. When you begin to understand how polarity works as a dynamic, you start to see things with a little bit more clarity and start to show up as a different version of yourself. Not that you weren't that already, but you know what to enhance and what to bring online and where the work is to continue to bring that forward. If you're new to my work, my name's Courtney Shand, and I love helping men show up in that calm, confident way that naturally creates attraction with the right type of woman so that your long-term connections can start off on the right foot. So today we're going to dive into 3 scenarios where understanding polarity can be really helpful for helping you navigate. Hopefully you'll relate to one of them and be able to see how you want to move forward in that scenario. So the first one that shows up really commonly in my clients is that nice guy energy. The dynamic that gets created with the nice guy is one that feels a little bit more neutralized. She's looking to feel the contrast of you being in that confident energy. And a lot of times what happens is there's an unconscious pattern playing where you're showing up as this nice guy persona. And I use it as a persona or as an archetype, not because there's something wrong with you, but because when we're coming from this type of conditioning, we may have some blind spots around how we're showing up to the connection. And a lot of times for people with this type of dynamic, you're showing up in a way that is creating a lot of accommodation. It's not actually allowing her to see you, to see where you end, and therefore create any sort of contrast. There's too much sameness, there's too much intimacy. And when it comes to this type of work, understanding the difference between when you need to create intimacy and when you need to create polarity is what's going to make the difference. So for this dynamic, it's going to create a little bit more intimacy than is required to have that attraction and that chemistry that you're wanting to create. And a lot of times this is why you have such an emotional connection and you've got this huge capacity to connect on that level, and yet you'll find yourself in these long-term kind of extended situations that aren't necessarily fulfilling the side of you that wants to take it to the next level, that wants to make her your girlfriend, that wants to have the romantic type connection that you're really looking for. And the reason is that there isn't enough contrast between the two of you. What we want to do instead to break this dynamic is to start stepping more into, purposely, that masculine pull, the masculine side of the dynamic. And this is going to take you into more of the leadership type energy. It's going to be the planning, the coordinating, the directing, the guiding of the connection. That's what's going to differentiate you from the kind of like sameness and neutralness that a lot of times you will feel in this sort of dynamic. This is going to require you to step into a little bit more edginess within yourself and start to speak up for the things that you actually think, your opinions, what you want in the relationship and the connection, and also be willing to hold your own life together. This means kind of having your own life, your own hobbies, things that light you up and really enliven you in your own life so that you have something to bring to the connection that creates that polarity piece, that difference between the two of you. This doesn't have anything to do with the amount of time that you're spending together, the depth of the emotional connection. None of those things are what I'm talking about here. We want to be thinking of how you can be bringing more of yourself to this particular connection. The second way that this plays out for my clients is when attraction seems to fizzle before that second or third date. You're really good at asking women out, and you tend to find people who seem like really good potential partners. And yet for some reason, by the time you get to the third date, either she's busy, not interested, or you get caught up with work and things just seem to fizzle before they ever have a chance. It can be really frustrating to be in this dynamic because you tend to be really good at connecting with people. You've got lots of friends, deep quality relationships. It's not that you have a hard time connecting with people. It's more so when we look at this through the lens of polarity, what ends up happening is that there's often an internal intimacy that needs to be rebuilt. This will show up as in the moment of being across from her, you unconsciously, a lot of times it's unconsciously or unknowingly, dropping out of that leadership energy when you sense that she is wanting something from you that you haven't quite uncovered for yourself. What we need is to create that internal intimacy so that you are able to feel comfortable. It's not like a new thing to be experiencing, where you're able to be comfortable exchanging energy simultaneously. So there's usually a lot of polarity in this dynamic. It's what we're needing is to bring more of that intimacy. And what I often tell my clients, and I told this to my female clients too, you really will have a hard time creating externally what isn't available internally. So your external world often will mirror the way that you are engaging with your own masculine and feminine energy. So if you're finding that the connection is fizzling really quickly, my question is always, how do you experience your own feminine energy, your own emotions? And a lot of times when we look at it, there's a sense of things kind of like go numb, go offline. There's a freeze response that's really common in the nervous system here. And what we need to do is, instead of going up into your head and kind of strategizing and thinking about how you want to move this forward, is to actually drop into your body and be able to sit in the experience of the unknown as it's unfolding. This sounds a lot more intense and scary than it is in real life. The process that I walk people through tends to shift this within a minute or two, and they have this new charge of, I know what I'm doing, I'm in charge. They pick that leadership energy back up, and they've seen themselves do it in that context. So the next time they're on a date or with someone that they're attracted to, they have this new template of seeing themselves act in this particular way that gives them a grounded confidence that they can do that in real life. So when we look at this through polarity, you're wanting to actually build that inner intimacy so that you can start to expand your capacity to create the emotional safety that a woman is needing to continue to spend time with you and continue to build that connection with you as it organically unfolds. The third way that this shows up in my clients that I see pretty often is their relationship to doubt. They may sense that something is there. There's a little flirtiness, a little tension, and yet their own doubt creeps in and it keeps them from taking action. The way that this will show up when we look at it through the lens of polarity teaching, again, we all have masculine and feminine energy within ourselves, and typically it's the relationship that each of these energies have internally that's going to be playing out in our external world. So often what is happening here is that there are parts of you, we're going to call them this feminine energy piece, that you may feel a little bit uncertain about or unsure if you can read correctly. And if this were, again, people, we would be saying we want to be able to tune into them and get a good read on them so that we're taking the correct action that helps them feel safe in trusting us. So again, this is kind of an inner harmony piece too, similar to the second one, where we want to create that inner intimacy so that it naturally shows up as you trusting yourself, you being able to follow your instincts, as well as tuning into her and being able to read the room and sense when you're trying to push things or if you're actually inviting her into this dance together. This is what's going to help you lead with clarity and bring more of that masculine energy forward that she actually needs in order to follow you and follow your lead. So it is this like backing of yourself that I talk about in my programs a lot, where you have your own back enough that you're not looking to her for permission or for a sense of you did that right. You're actually saying, hey, this is what I would like. This is where I would like to go. And you're tuned into her enough that you're actually guiding her in that process. If she already is giving some signs of chemistry, maybe she's flirting with you, or you can just sense that there is something there, if she is feeling that way, she will naturally follow you when you're leading with your masculine energy. So again, this comes down to reharmonizing your own inner world, where you can start to trust your own feminine energy. which really means that you're bolstering your own emotional experience and creating this solid foundation from which you can move throughout the world. This is what allows people to naturally follow you. When you feel safe and secure within yourself, you are grounding your own emotional experience and not letting it get swept up into the stories that you're telling about it. So hopefully this was helpful. I would love to hear in the comments if any of these three resonate with you. And if you want some extra support on it, like I said, I have one-on-one space available. But if you're really looking for some extra perspective shifts where you can kind of come at it from a different vantage point, check out the dating codes or the masterclass Bold so that you can start making moves like you're unrejectable. That is designed to get underneath the fear of what she's going to say and how she's going to respond so that you can show up naturally, more confidently, and coming from the space of solidarity within yourself. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you next week.